Montessori homeschooling can be an extraordinary gift for you and your child, but is it right for everyone? It's actually not, all right? And so in this episode, we're going to break down who it's right for, who it's not right for, and how to know if it's the right fit for you and your child.
Now, this might come as a bit of a shock because one of the mantras here at Child of the Redwoods is that Montessori is for everybody.
Yep.
And that's like the core of our whole approach, like why we do the Power Hour and why we created Child of the Redwoods. We wanted to make Montessori as accessible as possible. But just because it's accessible doesn't mean that it's right for everybody. We just want to make sure it's available to everybody. So one of the ways we can know whether it's a good fit or not is by looking kind of more specifically at what it means. And if we can then understand sort of what it is and what it isn't, that can then help us understand whether it's a right fit. Because to be honest, it's not a right fit for every family. There are other approaches that might suit your particular family's needs better. And we'd rather you pick the right one for your family rather than, let's say, try Montessori, have a bad experience, and then give up and think, oh, like it's just not what it's all cracked up to be. We would rather you have a good experience and find the right fit, even if it isn't Montessori at this moment. So let's jump into this. Let's talk about how do you know if Montessori is right for you or not?
Well, I actually tell people a lot that Montessori really is right for every child. I believe that with my whole heart, that the Montessori method is developmentally aligned to meet the needs of every child, okay? Whether your child just, no matter what your child is, because we really focus on the unique needs of every human being, okay? So if we're really focused in on the uniqueness and we're loving the child in front of us, then Montessori is right. But it's not necessarily right for every parent. Okay, and so this is something that I think a lot of Montessori guides kind of adopt as well when parents are taking tours of Montessori schools and trying to decide, is this Montessori school a good fit? And it's true for homeschooling as well. So here are some of the red flags you might look for if you're brand new to Montessori and you're coming here and you're like, what is this? And is this right for me? I'm going to tell you actually some things that if are true about you and you're looking for these specific things, that Montessori might not be a good fit for you. Maybe not your child, cool with Montessori, but like as a homeschooling parent, these are some of the things that we cannot offer in Montessori very firmly, all right?
All right.
So if you are looking for a very traditional teacher-led approach, Montessori is not for you. If your idea of homeschooling is that you're going to be standing in front of a board lecturing to your kids, or if you're going to give your child an assignment to do, and afterwards you're going to grade their work, and correct it for them, have them turn in their assignments in that kind of traditional schoolish way, then don't do Montessori, because just flat out, I'll tell you, we don't do that.
It's not going to be a satisfying mix or approach for you. You're going to get frustrated with it.
Yes.
You're going to try and force Montessori into a box that it just doesn't fit, and then it's going to flop. So we see this a lot on social media, and actually we get this question too. As if we're talking with folks who are familiar with Montessori, it's not an issue.
That's right.
But when we talk with folks who aren't quite familiar with Montessori, or maybe they're Montessori skeptical, they might have this other idea. And it's not always the teacher or the parent in front of a group, right? A lot of times what you see is the kids of all ages march or walk excitedly into they arrive at their classroom, like the special room that they've designated for homeschooling, or the area of the house, at a certain time. Let's say it's 7:30, that's when school starts, and they have their books or folders all lined up, or it's in some kind of a box or a crate or something, and they go pick it out, and it's like Monday is the red one, and they go sit, and then they sit at their table and they do worksheets or reading or
just
problems,
a series of
they work through workbooks or something like that for a period of time, and then
School is over at a designated time, and then you leave school and you do your rest of your homeschool lifestyle.
Now, I understand why this is appealing, because it really does give you, the parent, and perhaps the child, a sense of accomplishment. It's very straightforward. If you finish the workbook, or you finish the packet, or you finish the book, or whatever it is, if you physically finish the quantity, then you can check that off and say, I did it. And, we've talked before about worksheets and so forth. They're not inherently bad if you use them in the right way, which is to reinforce practice, things like that. But you can't learn from a worksheet per se, right? The learning is going to happen in the cognitive struggle up here as the child or you, the human, is working through the idea. And the worksheet often doesn't do that very well. So I could see the appeal, but it's not Montessori because it does not really emphasize that piece that's happening up here, which is what Montessori is really trying to do. It's trying to give your child a chance to explore in a much more open way the world in a creative, authentic way that is going to equip them with deeper creativity, problem solving, resilience, and so forth, instead of more of a reliance on being told exactly what to do, even if it's harder to live in abstraction.
Yeah, so to get really, really clear here, some of the traditional teacher-aligned methods that we don't do in Montessori would include controlling everything our children are learning. Okay, in Montessori, we are child-led, not teacher-led. So if you expect to be the expert on all subject areas and to be teaching your child everything that they need to learn, then that's not something that we do. We're very child-led. We help our children follow their natural interests, all right? Doesn't mean you're not going to be giving lessons in Montessori. We'll talk about that in a minute. But if that's what you're expecting, that's a no-go. Another thing we don't do is we don't do grades, right? So if you're expecting to grade your children's work and give them a number grade, 70, 80, 90, 100, that's not Montessori. We don't do it. We also don't give letter grades. You don't get A's in Montessori. You don't get D's. You don't fail. Learning is learning. We just don't, period, we don't do grades. And the other thing I wanted to mention, it was on the tip of my tongue. What was it?
Well, I think while you're thinking of that, these are all good tips. Now, again, there are lots of approaches that will use these methods. But at a philosophical level, the reason we don't is, as a Montessorian, you have to kind of be willing to embrace, in this case, that the child is capable. And
sorry, I thought of it.
The teacher within. Okay, yeah.
It's compliance.
Oh.
Okay, if you expect your children to be obedient at every single level and to do the work regardless of whether they're interested in it or not, Montessori is not for you.
Now, I want to clarify on this because people will hear this and then this is where Montessori gets this concept of like, it's like hippy-dippy or something, right? You don't assign grades. That's true. Do we provide feedback? Yes. Grades are a unsophisticated way of providing feedback for learning, right? So we all receive feedback on our efforts. If we make a bad meal, it doesn't taste good. If we're trying to drive and we run into the curb, we know we've made a mistake in our steering. The world's filled with natural feedback. Grades, and whether they're letter or numeric, are not natural. They are an artificial, and we all kind of know that. And then it becomes sort of the point is to achieve the artificial outcome. What we want to do instead is to help the child build the intrinsic motivation necessary for lifelong success. And that requires them to learn how to observe and evaluate their own effort and then improve. So we don't do letter grades, but we do observation and feedback. Another one is we don't do marching through the books, but we do have a scope and sequence. There are lessons you'll want to give in an order that will be best for the child. But we're not going to say, if you don't finish everything in this booklet, you're not going to have done the right thing.
Okay, good?
Yes. Okay. I just want to like clarify that, because I think sometimes we say like it's not this, but I won't.
Well,
there's nuance. There's importance in the nuance.
Yes, and we'll talk more about the yeses in just a minute. All right, but hold on to I know you have lots of thoughts, and so do I. So traditional teaching methods, I think we've fully explained what those are. The next thing is results. If you're looking for instant results, as in like instant interest in learning, instant success in every single lesson, instant knowledge, instant memorization of facts, this is Montessori is not for you. All right, we are a slow, syrupy method of teaching. We emphasize progress, and you'll talk more about the progress part in a little bit, but just know, like in Montessori, we are looking at a progression of learning. We're not trying to get immediate results out of our children and out of this idea of like school success. All right.
I want to give a concrete example on that one.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I just love this topic. Because we hear this. I gave my child a lesson on the movable alphabet and they didn't listen. They wandered away. They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't come back. They just want to go play outside all the time. If you're expecting that goes back to your point about compliance. And the link here is to the result. I gave the lesson on the movable alphabet. Now you're going to sit and do the movable alphabet. And I'm going to see instantaneously you moving the tiles around to spell a phonetic word or a CVC word or something. And it doesn't happen and you can't handle that. Like that's just too stressful for you. It's not a good fit. You have to trust that the child is going to have listened and you'll be patient and ready for it to come later. So it's not a good fit if you're not willing to take that risk.
That's right. Okay. Let's just talk about the yeses.
Well, I liked some of the other caveats that I thought were good. No, I think we should mention a resistance to observation.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think it's important.
I knew you were going to want to do this section. Go on. I tried to encourage you to do this one. Go ahead. Go for it.
I want to mention resistance observation. So this goes with that teacher-led model, right? So this is actually a continuation of what we talked about in the beginning, which is if you're looking to be able for the kids to come into the space and then work their way through a series of workbooks, and then you're going to grade it and you're going to see instant results based on like their numeric or alphabet score like ABCD, this isn't going to fit. If you are reluctant to actually be patient, sit and watch the child and have real curiosity about what's happening in journaling that out and looking for signs of growth that could be very subtle or perhaps separated by distance. If you're not willing to go through that journey of observation, it's not a good fit.
I agree. Okay.
And the last one I want to mention here, because we came up with these are good. The fourth one is if you're looking to be able to buy a solution, like all in terms of like materials. If I buy the app, if I buy the computer program, if I buy the pink tower and the materials and things, and I give them to the child, then voila, right? Like the learning will happen. If your inclination as a homeschooling family is to want the solution to come in the form of the materials, and Montessori has really awesome materials, and you're like, well, awesome materials must equal awesome outcomes, you're not going to succeed. You're going to be disappointed because it's not in the materials. It's not in the materials at all. It's in the lessons and the technique. And that then feeds back to that like observation model and the patience and the child-centered approach.
Okay, so to wrap up.
To wrap up, I just wrapped up.
Okay. All right, you wrapped up. I think they get it. So let's talk about who Montessori is right for, and just some of those things. Because I mean, I feel like you mentioned a lot of these things already, but let's.
But you'll say them so much more nicely.
No, probably. All right, go ahead. Like.
No, please. We swapped.
Are we switching?
We did. We did a part swap.
Okay. In our experience, if you are coming and you're hearing these things and you're like, yeah, actually, I agree with you. I do want a child-led approach. I don't want to feel beholden to workbooks and worksheets. I remember the traditional approach that was used on me in school. I remember how terrible I felt when I got a grade that was less than I had self-evaluated myself to be. This is a personal experience. Like I really took grades pretty harshly on myself in school. If I got, and I was never satisfied with them. David knows the story. He didn't care about grades quite as much as I did.
No.
But like if I got a 95, I was upset because it was like, where did I miss those 5 points and where did I fail your expectations as a teacher? And often teachers were like, you didn't fail, 95 is good. But I'd be like, but tell me, like, what did I do wrong? And they're like, I don't know, I just gave you 95. And it just was never satisfying.
You're a real Lisa Simpson in that way.
I was an absolute Lisa Simpson. I know. Maybe it doesn't affect everyone that way, but in my experience, I don't think that my school experience is unaligned with most of the members in our community. I think most of the members of our community are real go-getters, and you're pursuing Montessori because you believe that it's the best for your child, and you're willing to do the work. So some of the things that we had on our list for if Montessori is right for you, it's are you willing to learn a different way of teaching your child than perhaps you were taught yourself?
Yep.
And if you're not willing, Montessori is not right for you. If you are willing, it is right for you. You have that instinct that you know where you were wronged in school, and you're choosing a different path for your child partly because of that. You're going to choose to observe your child, and this is something we talk about a lot in our power hours. We have mega episodes all about observation. We talk about it in our Montessori courses as well. I'm about to teach an entire month's worth on defining your rhythm and routine with our primary course, and our lower L folks are also learning about the nature of their developmental nature of their child to understand how to work with them better. And if you're not willing to go this extra mile and learn, what does this age child need developmentally from me right now, then that's just a no-go. And if you are willing, you're going to notice their interest, you're willing to observe them, you want to follow your child, yes, come on into Montessori. You found your people. Our members also are really focused on creating a holistic lifestyle.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you want to give some examples of some of the practical things we teach in Montessori that are not taught in traditional schooling?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure exactly what you have in mind.
Like practical life activities?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, of course, yeah. So things that you find famously in Montessori would be an emphasis on sensorial learning, helping attune, especially at the younger ages, so attuning the senses, touch, smell, sight, hearing, so that they can more concretely and finally understand the world around them. This is essential during the primary years. Now, you'll see some reflections of this in traditional preschool, but it lacks, in a lot of cases, the deeper understanding of why. So you might see a lot of primary colors, for example, in a traditional preschool, or fuzzy things to pet or something like that, without understanding that there's a reason for it, and the reason is to attenuate the eyes and the hands and the other senses to taking in the world in a deeper, more refined way, because that's the ladder that takes them all up through the progression into the second plane. So you see an emphasis on sensorial. You also see an emphasis on practical life. So that would include things like using a sponge to wipe tables, sweep the floor, learning how to use the toilet, learning how to blow one's nose sanitarily. So why would you focus on those sorts of things, grace and courtesy more broadly as we think of them, or just sort of practical everyday things? It's because those are actual human tasks. We use those all the time in our everyday life, and helping children to learn them not only makes them better at them, right? It helps with a kind of a social cohesion, but it, more importantly, it actually speaks to the child. The child wants to live in the world as the adult lives in the world, and they're fascinated by those things. You see children mimic the activities and works of adults all the time. There was a little boy at church the other day who was going around, he's pulling out the pew cards, and he was too little. He was like 18 months, maybe 2 years. You remember that little guy? So cute. So he's pulling out the little card. He couldn't read, but he was pre-reading. He was pulling it out and looking at it and then setting it down and then getting another pew card and looking at it and setting it down. He's mimicking something he's seen his older brother and his dad and his mom and the other people in his life do. This is just something that burns inside of a child. So when we give them practical life lessons, we're letting them do real things that prepare them for that journey forward. And these are just special things you don't see in a traditional preschooler. You might see them, but they're not done necessarily with the same intentionality.
Yeah, so we're seeing in Montessori, we see side by side prioritizing children learning life skills right alongside the academics. So we've got, let's give a lower elementary example, like, is learning how to spell, or teaching spelling lessons important? Yes, of course. Like, we're going to teach those lessons and we love them. But also important, learning how to respect each other and learning how to, or setting the table, or
beautifying your space.
Yes, organizing your room. Like, those things are just as worthy lessons for life and for an education as all of the academic stuff. So yes, we got the math, we got the reading, we've got all of that in our curriculum. We can give you lots and lots of examples of everything in our curriculum. I have here our whole scope and sequence of lessons. It includes 10 core subject areas, but it also includes a lot of life skill lessons as well. All right, so if you're...
Sorry, go ahead.
No.
I was going to say, you had mentioned like that holistic, like our members create a kind of a more holistic approach.
Yes.
And that's what it just made me think, like, so we do teach those practical skills, but they're integrated fully into the whole of the learning environment.
That's right.
So when you create your homeschool environment doesn't begin and end at 7:30 when they come in to work through the book. It is an ongoing process through their whole lived life. It is a complete immersion into the learning process. That's what the Montessori approach does. And when you learn what those lessons are, and if you join us, for example, at our complete or unlimited level, and you get all the foundational lessons, because like I said, just because we don't, say, work you through a workbook, there are lessons. They are sequenced. We have a scope and sequence, but what we're looking to do is integrate them fully into your life. And you can learn how to observe, you can learn what those skills and lessons are, and you can create an environment in your home that brings it all together. And one simple example is you're going to teach something like the peace table and decorating a table and place setting in the primary years. And in the lower elementary years, you're going to go into the foundational needs of humans as part of humankind. And one of those is adornment, vanitas. That is a direct relation to the skills that you're teaching earlier and reinforcing earlier in that practical life. There is a connection from one skill, the practical life skill, to the humankind skill, which in itself is then a precursor or a lead into the study of history and human culture that you'll continue for the rest of your life. There's a progression. We in Montessori can learn how to bring all of those together in a really amazing way.
Okay, another thing that came to mind for me in this is that if you are choosing the Montessori method, it means that you are willing to use a curriculum. So if you are of a mindset, and I am a very unschooly person, I like to say this because we lead a very slow and relaxed, nature-centered life at home. That's why I love elements of unschooling. I love elements of Waldorf, elements of Charlotte Mason. Give me a teapot. I'm so happy. Teapot and a poem. Okay, I'm there. But if you're not willing to give lessons to your child and you want to wake up and just do whatever during the day and not give lessons or not use a scope and sequence, then Montessori is not your game. And so there has to be that little bit of willingness. Like you have to like some of the academic stuff, right? Like
Totally.
I like to say in our community that it's a community full of full of beautiful, brilliant Montessori nerds. Right? Why? Because we find teaching children fascinating, and we find curriculum interesting, and we want the best for our children, and we're willing to study for it. So if you are willing to study the Montessori method and you're curious about child development and you want to learn more about it, and you're willing to put some work in too, like you're willing to prepare your environment in your home for your child's best learning interests. And in some cases, this might mean like doing some decluttering and creating a space for concentration. Like if you're willing to do that, come on in. These are your people. If you're willing, if you're like, hey, you know what I've always wanted to do? Read The Absorbent Mind by Maria Montessori. Why? Because maybe it's interesting. Like, these are your people. Come join us. Like, we like to study. We're curious about the world. We see ourselves as
scientists.
Yeah, like we see ourselves as scientists. We think it's fun to give lessons, and sometimes that means that lessons flop. It's okay. We're going to see ourselves as learners along with our children. So from both perspectives, if you're the kind of person who's like, I'm cool with curriculum, like let's jump in and study and learn something new, then yes, you've found Montessori, you're gonna fit right in. And if you're like, hey, I'm totally willing to ditch the parts of traditional education that is not research-backed, like grades, and I wanna choose a different way for my children to embrace life and learning together, you found us. And the last thing I want to talk about in this little section that I know is super important to you is about family. So Montessori is for you 100% if you value spending time with your kids. If this is something you want to do, if in your heart you're like, yes, I know that sometimes I need space for my own self-care, and everyone needs a shower. Everyone needs some alone time now and then, of course. Like, yes, of course. But also, if there's something in your heart that's like, you know what I really love doing? Spending time with my kids. Yeah. That's what we do. For sure.
That goes to what I was thinking about with when you said like the holistic approach. Like, with our approach to Montessori homeschooling, which is based on Montessori, is a holistic approach to life, and the family. And the family is central to how we structure our society, how we structure ourselves as people. It's ancient. You find it throughout the millennia. The family unit is super important. In our modern world, there's a lot of things that divide and quantify our time and pull us apart. And if you're choosing to homeschool, you're obviously making a choice to prioritize other things. And Montessori homeschooling in particular is so wonderful because it truly lets you bring all of those qualities together because you're really working with your child as a partner. So it's like I was thinking about what you were saying. So if you want to be the director or the dictator or the decider or something, it's not going to work for you. That's because that's just not how learning works. It's not a simple progression that you're always going to get the outcome. If you want to be a scientist, you want to experiment, you want to have joy, you want to be attuned to your child's life and thinking about it, and you are willing to trust that your child will not break if you make mistakes. Your child will not go bad if you don't know the answer to the problems. They will not be a failure if you forget to give a lesson on a certain thing before a certain time. If you trust that your child has an innate fire to learn and will find a way, they will find a way to learn despite your best efforts. If you are willing to believe that, and it is true, it is what Maria found out, it's what we've seen in our own lives, it's what millions and millions of Montessori children and parents and teachers around the world have seen and felt. If you're willing to take that and say, you know what, I'm going to live an integrated life, a holistic life with my child. I'm going to bring the lessons to bear. I am going to follow the scope and sequence. I am going to give lessons, but I'm also not going to get hung up if they don't get to the end of the folder by the end of the week, because I don't have a folder. What I have is a set of lessons I want to try and experiment this week with, and if my child doesn't take to them, that's okay. I didn't do anything wrong. I gave them the opportunity. I prepared the environment. I introduced the lesson. I'm going to trust that this will come back when they are ready for it. And I will continue to offer them these great lessons, like the spelling lesson, this practical life lesson, this art lesson, this whatever kind of lesson. I'll continue to offer it to them. And when they are ready, they will take part in that as well. And I trust that they're not going to miss out by not following my directive at this moment. And instead, I'm going to lean into the chaotic nature of life. I'm going to love that my children are unpredictable because that's just how they are. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the transformation shift that a lot of our parents in our community make after joining our curriculum. A lot of parents come to us, they're wondering, they have heard the benefits of Montessori because it's popular, which awesome. Yay, I love that it's popular.
It's popular because it's good.
It's popular because it's good. It's also very, I think, Instagrammable, or Pinterestable, with all the pretty environments that people love to create.
Fun materials and things.
That's right. It's very pretty. But if you are a parent and maybe you don't have a teaching background, but you're thinking, hey, I've heard Montessori is great, but I actually don't know how to do it. There's no way to know how to do it unless you're willing to take the journey and study it. And we actually offer courses at Child of the Redwoods. The best way to do that would be to check out our unlimited plan. So you should go to childoftheredwoods.com/unlimited if you're interested in learning the whole thing in the most all-encompassing way and to make the complete transformation this year. Right now we're going on a 9-month journey with 2 different age groups, ages in our primary age group from 2 to 6, and then we've got our lower elementary age group from 6 to 9. And both cohorts are kind of starting off this month studying
it's a great time
the
to
Montessori
join.
method.
You're still in time to be with that full cohort. We haven't even given the first coaching sessions
That's
yet.
right. First coaching session is coming up this month. So instead of, and I am particularly prone to doing this, I will always, I'm like a DIYer at heart. So every time I'm trying to learn something new, I'm like, how do I learn this for free? No, I totally am like that. And I'll tell you what ends up happening is I I immediately come across contrasting points of view, people trying to teach the same thing from totally different perspectives, or maybe I get a piece of something and then another piece of something over here. When I was in the pottery studio the other day, I was talking to a newbie in the studio. She'd been in the studio for 2 months and she had lots of questions. And I was like, hey, let me just tell you some of the things that I wish someone had told me. So I didn't spend, and I was thinking at the same time, I was like, it took me months just to learn these very core principles about pottery because I was trying to DIY the whole thing by bits of information here and there. And what I really needed was like a mentor to say, hey, here's the deal. This is what the process looks like. Here are some of the core techniques you should be learning. And this is like what you should do first. Like I really needed somebody to tell me that when I was beginning this journey. And I did it the long and hard way. I probably would have made more progress if I had been able to be in a structured curriculum. So it's not that it's wrong to take a completely DIY approach, but it's going to take you longer to get to the end. And what we do at Child of the Redwoods is we find a way to take you from knowing nothing to knowing a whole lot. Within just a very short amount of time. So you can get onto the fun stuff, like teaching your kid in the moment and feeling like you don't have to constantly be worrying about what to do next.
Well, I want to add on to that because it's not just that you have to learn. The way that we structured our approach is that you will begin teaching with Montessori right away.
Yeah.
You'll use the thematic pack. We're doing Apple this month. It's a really fun one. We have over 50 in our library. You can go pick a different theme, but you by using the thematic pack are going to teach authentic Montessori from day one. And while you're using the thematic packs to help you start to bring Montessori to life in your home, you're going to be learning the principles and theory behind it through the course. And if you're in our unlimited program, through the coaching. And as you deepen your knowledge, you're going to deepen your use and readiness with those theme packs. And then you're going to hit a moment where you're ready to start bringing in even more of those foundational lessons. So we're going to take you from, if you've never taught Montessori before, to you taught, but it was at a different grade level, or it's been a long time, or maybe you were an assistant or something like that, and you're not quite confident enough. Wherever you are in your Montessori journey, from 0 all the way up, we've had them all, that you will be able to start using the Montessori method and all the benefits that we've talked about in this video immediately because of the way we've structured it. You have immediate things you can start working on while you're deepening your knowledge. Within a few months, you're going to have pulled these pieces together, and it's just an iterative process. You can transform your homeschool life right now. Yeah, in 1 month. So if you're ready to join us in that, just visit childoftheredwoods.com. We've also got a chat feature. You can reach out to us. We're online a lot, and we will write back to you. And otherwise, you can email us at hello@childoftheredwoods.com. Thanks so much for joining us, friends. And if you're curious about learning more about Montessori, next week, join us because we're going to be talking about one of the #1 fears that a lot of parents have when they come to us in our community for the very first time. What if I do it wrong? Oh, yes.
What if I mess up? So we're going to talk about strategies for what happens if you do it wrong. So come and join us for that. That'll be a lot of fun.
That's right. We'll see you then. Email if you have any questions. Otherwise, have a great day.